This is the free astrotheology course, and our textbook is the Astrology of the Old Testament, right? The Astrology of the Old Testament, the lost word regained. Now, I think it's, and I didn't notice this until a day or two ago, that we covered the astrology of the New Testament, which is purely astrology, and now we're into the Old Testament. All right, so we're going to go through all of the astrology, and y'all scholars, read chapter 3 ahead. If you read chapter 3 and you study it, you understand it, it will help you to explain all of the concepts that you're going to be introduced to with each zodiac sign, especially uh, when you hear things like Judas Iscariot, who betrayed Christ. You'll understand exactly that the sun is like right in my eye. Hold on, y'all. Let me see if I can adjust here. I'm at a cafe in a natural history museum, and it's still, well, let me see what it looks like if I do it this way. Hold on, y'all. So as far as, let's say, Judas Iscariot, maybe that's not good. Being the betrayer, you'll understand what that means, okay? You'll understand exactly what it means, and you won't have to memorize. See, that's the key. That's the key to learning, to not put yourself in a situation where you are memorizing, okay? That's the most inferior, most difficult, most time consuming, uh, and it just wears you out having to memorize. I think I'm gonna move back. I'm playing music with you here somewhere. Looks like I'm in a place with a bunch of college students. I don't know. But anyway, so that's chapter 3. Y'all study up on chapter 3. It's gonna be probably 2 or 3 months before we get there, because there's just so much information packed in these chapters. But I want to just remind y'all while we're here that this first and second chapter, we're in the second chapter right now. Um, uh, bear with the author, okay, and bear with me because the author is taking you through the fundamentals, and we cannot skip it. We cannot skip it. It's a lot of good stuff in here, but it's not the heavy duty stuff. All right, this is not the heavy duty stuff, the wow and the ooh and the whistles. That begins in chapter 3. All right, that begins in chapter 3. And like I said, if you understand that and you remember just the certain key things, I'll bring them to your attention. You can think through. You can use basic logic. Okay. And everything we went through in the devil's pulpit, well, wow, you understand it at an even deeper level. All right, so let's begin class today on page 16. I know I'm jumping, but the class before this, I think I had already done that, and I should have, but nonetheless, page 16, paragraph 2. Okay, page 16, paragraph 2. And let's make it do what it do, scholars. It is said that Moses commanded, and now listen to this, and then think about secret societies. And not that they are bad, but just think about secret societies. It is said that Moses commanded, quote unquote, he that understandeth Genesis, let him not reveal it. If you understand Genesis, Moses commanded, let him not reveal it. So there's a command for secrecy, according to this author. So I should research this to see exactly where this quote is coming from. So it appears to me that this is the justification for keeping secrets. or keeping knowledge hidden, right? Gen Isis, Gen hyphen IS, Gen Isis, Genesis, should be revealed that we may have a true conception of the beauty of astrology. So the author is saying that he disagrees with Moses, if in fact Moses did make that commandment. Okay? That could have been an editor writing that in there. We don't know. I definitely don't know. I wasn't there. And if I was there, I don't remember. So Gen hyphen Isis, not the beginning, that's in quotes, not the beginning, but what Isis, the mother nature, generates or produces. Okay, so in other words, generation, produces, Isis, mother nature, mother Isis, Mer. So Mer has reference to the sea and the ocean. Now this is not the Catholic Church doctrine, to worship the Virgin Mary, the mistress of the sea. It's not that. It is the natural phenomena metaphorically being spoken of as giving birth, right? The menstrual of the woman, or the menstruation of the woman, the waters of the woman, okay, or maybe even the amniotic fluid of the woman, okay? So the pure, fresh, salty ocean water. And y'all know it heals, right? Y'all know ocean water heals. And it's full of the minerals, all of the minerals. All right? So this is what the author is speaking of. So Isis, the ruler of the waters. Well, here it is right here. The menstrual of all nature. Water is the salty waters, the ocean waters. The menstrual of all nature, which combined with air and heat generate all things. So these are the earth, water, air, and heat. Did I get that right? Yeah, water, air, and heat. Yes, water, air, and heat. The author here is saying generates all things. Okay? Give me 1 second. I had a thought, but I lost it. Now you see why the Pope calls the Catholic Church calls the Pope's authority the Holy See. Right? The sun, and then the sea. The oceans, the sun produces the heat, is responsible for the winds of spring, right? And the warm air in late November, we're going to get into that. And, as the author writes here, the mother of all things, Mother Nature, Isis. So the church is claiming to be, the Catholic Church claims to be the Son, the Father, Holy, means sunny, means the sun. So the Father, and then Mer, or the ocean, is the mother. So that's the Father, and what? The Holy Spirit is the mother. Y'all see that? So this is why the Catholic Church calls their authority the Holy See. I hope everyone can see that. The Holy See. Their corporate policy, their religious doctrine. And their religious doctrine is corporate policy. Christianity is a corporation. Capricorn corporation. Deceptive, deceitful, Pisces. All of these are in the negative sense. Everybody see it? So Genesis chapter 1 and 2. No, Genesis chapter 1 verse 2. Listen to this, y'all. Now this is different than when you look at the etymological meaning of every word in the biblical Hebrew. So what I do in 506 The Curses course, or in my classes, you'll learn how to go from biblical Hebrew to ancient Ibaryath. Okay, so you need to understand linguistics and able to be able to do that, but it can be reverse engineered. You can come to class and learn how to do that. All right. So Genesis 1 verse 2, quote unquote, and the Spirit of God moved on the face of the waters. And then in brackets it says, i.e. air, wind, or air in motion. Now, here is the limitation. One of the limitations that I spoke about with this book, because he's not giving the radicals or even the word and their etymological meanings. He's not doing that. He's giving you the English. So, from my knowledge base of ancient Ibaryath, I understand that air, wind, or air in motion is not, that's just part of the story. It's not even a third of the story. Okay? So there's a lot here that is missing. And what I see, based upon my knowledge of ancient Ibaryath, and y'all can get here too where I'm at, and y'all can even go further than me. But what I see is a Christian doctrine. Why? Because spirit is breath. That's about as far as you will hear a Christian go on this topic. Right? They'll say the Ruach HaKodesh. Or a Hebrew Israelite, rather. Okay? And they'll say that the spirit is breath. And that's partially correct. But that's just a sliver of it. So when I read this is technically incorrect. Technically, this is incorrect, in my opinion, okay? And the Spirit of God, so the two key words is Spirit and God. The first question I would ask is, which God? This is a capital G. There is no upper and lowercase letters in the ancient Ibaryath. Neither in the biblical Hebrew. God is specified as true, and then there's a God that has no specification. True or false? So if it has to be specified capital G as true, there must be what? A false capital G. And that's not even talking about the alleged creator of the universe. This is talking about Elohim. Right, y'all? Which is deity, angel, or man. Or, I mean, it could be a hybrid. Right? A person who is significant. Doesn't even have to be a giant. It could be a magi, a magistrate. You know, a magistrate that 99% of the black people and the Mexicans are afraid of when they go into a de facto court. They start shaking in their boots. Yeah. So this is technically wrong. I just want to point it out, okay? So remember, the limitation of this book is that there is not enough etymology. The history is there, okay? It has philology, but it's weak. The philology aspect is weak because it lacks, in my opinion, sufficient etymology. See, if he laid out the etymology of this verse the way I would do, for example, when I write, if y'all support my project to write the book as a rendering for one ancient Ibaryath word. So it's not word for word. But in the book of the law, if y'all support it with your finances, I'll put the ancient Ibaryath words and their etymological meanings and how they're rendered, not just in one version of the Bible, but in several. Okay? In the 506 The Curses course, I do the gloss, I show the gloss meaning, and I show the King James, the KJV. Why? Because most people, many people adore KJV, right? So that's the only reason why. But in the class, we reference, we use every version that's available. We use that, okay? Because we can make sense of them. All right, we can spot where the deceptions are, where the grammatical errors are. No issue. Okay, so that's the problem with Genesis chapter 1 verse 2. It does not say what you think it says. That's my point. Watch the video that I did. What's the name of the video? It's called A Critical Analysis of Genesis chapter 1 and 2, something like that. But y'all Google search it. I got two. One is 6 hours. I broke it up into two, part 1 and part 2. All right, but you can skip through it until you get to the point where I'm talking. The first 2 hours are two Hebrew Israelite Christians, given the usual breakdown, quote unquote, of Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 through 3. They had different interpretations because they have different doctrines, but it's the usual stuff. Okay, so start listening to part 1 or at the beginning of the video. If you just want to hear my part, I come in at 2 hours and 4 minutes into the video, okay? And you'll see for yourself, this is not what this verse says, all right? And the chronology is off, but that's a whole other story. Watch that video if you want to know more. Genesis chapter 1, verse 3, quote unquote, and God said, let there be light. And there was light. Light, according to the author, is heat. I agree with that. Light produces heat. Electricity, light. Yeah, light is electric. Force and magnetism. Wow. I have no disagreement with these being part of the characteristics of light. But watch the video, like I said. Watch the video. Because this is not what Genesis 1, 2, and 3 is saying at all. It is not a creation story at all. Okay? And by the way, I think it's pretty common knowledge already, y'all, that Genesis chapter 1 is a different creation story, quote unquote, than in Genesis chapter 2. So in that video, a critical analysis of Genesis chapter 1 and 2, whatever the title is, something like that. So I'll go through, I actually list side by side, and you can see that they're completely different. Okay? Now, whether or not you will accept, or maybe you already accepted the finesse, the doctrine that explains the difference between 1 and 2, saying that they're the same story. Remember, the historical Jesus cursed you. Y'all remember that? He gave you, he uncoupled your mind from your eyes and your ears from your mind, so that you'll go for the okie doke, so that you'll go for the finesse, hook, line, and sink. Okay, all I'm asking is that you stay in the realm of reason. And it's just clear. Even when you hear their doctrine, it's clearly finesse. Anytime you got to start explaining, we used to call it nigga-splaining when I was younger. And that's always bad when you have to explain things. Genesis chapter 1, verse 9 and 10, quote unquote. And God said, and Elohim said. Elohim is not the grand creator of the universe, as you have been taught. Don't take my word for it, look it up. Also, God is not the grand creator of the universe. Don't take my word for it, look it up. And God said, and Odin said, and God and Woden said, God is the modern spelling of Odin and Woden. All right? The dramatic deity, who some allege to be Thought, the Egyptian deity Thought. But that's an allegation. All right. In other words, that's cultural appropriation. Or what's the phrase they use nowadays, y'all, when you steal somebody's culture? Culture vulture. Something like that. God didn't say anything. God is a dog, spelled backward. God is good, right? Or good, double O, delete an O, you get God. Look at the community post I did again with Toto and the dog and the Wizard of Oz. See what you're going to learn from that. All right. So in other words, this word God is relatively modern. So you can't use a modern word and put it in context of something that happened allegedly thousands of years ago. All right. It's not acceptable in academia. Well, it's not acceptable in common sense, right? That's just common sense. Let the waters under the heaven be gathered together under one place, and let the dry land appear. So are we talking about the flood, the mud flood, Noah's flood? What are we talking about? Watch the video that I talked about, okay? Rufia writes, hello. Hello, Rufia. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters he called seas. Now, sounds simple, but this is critical for your and it's also a problem. It's also a problem. This is critical to. Let me see if I can find. I'm gonna jump ahead. Critical to understanding the fundamentals. So critical to the content on page 40 through 44. You need to understand the content on page 40 through 44 to understand the zodiacal stories. Y'all see what I mean when you go through that. Not every detail, but with respect to the seasons, okay? And also with respect to, for example, like Judas being the betrayer. Where does that come from? Well, it comes straight out of natural phenomena. All right? So now let's continue. And God and Go and Odin and Woden and Apollo and Isis and Zeus and Jupiter and Jupiter called the dry land earth. And the gathering together, also let's throw in there the magistrate and the magi. Called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas, S-E-A-S. Clear? We have here a distinct account of the action of the elements. Okay, what elements? The water, the air, and the heat. That by the air, fire, and water, the earth was formed. Well, see, that's not true. When you look at Genesis chapter 1 and chapter 2, you will find that the earth was already there. Now, I know this through the ancient Ibaryath, but also just reading comprehension, paying attention to details. So this again is Christian doctrine. This is Western doctrine saying that everything has a beginning. So if everything has a beginning, there was a time, let's say time zero, when there was nothing. It must be like that, right? When it was nothing. If everything has a beginning, otherwise there's no beginning. So from what source, if there is no source, where does the intelligence that produces the governing laws or principles that the beginning has to be based on? Okay, so thermodynamics tells us that the system went from order or is going from order to disorder. Now that's the science of it. It's not going from chaos to order. Okay? It's going from order to less and less order, from order to disorder. So the earth, the land was already here, according to the Genesis account. All right, y'all? So we have to be suspicious as we read. Also inquisitive and pay attention to details. Now don't take my word for it, y'all go check it. All right, y'all go check it. So where would the air come from, y'all? Air is made of gases. Air is the atmosphere made of many gases. Where would the fire come from? Well, I'm assuming the sun. But if there's no land, what's going to produce the air? Right? Where the elements come from? What's holding the water? As far as we know, the water is held what? By the earth. The water is on top of the earth. Or the earth is underneath the water. Right? So even just basic logic, this doesn't make sense. But this is the Christian doctrine, and it must be to support evolution. This is what I was warning y'all about when I did the introductory video, right? The very first video for this class. These are good examples of it, okay? So we don't give full faith and credit out like candy. And when the author is clearly in error, and I'm aware of it, I'm going to bring it to your attention. Okay, I'm not trying to convince you to believe astrology. I'm presenting you the evidence. Period. Okay? What you do with it is on you. Right? So let me read that sentence again. He says, we have here a distinct account of the action of the elements that by air, fire, and water the earth was formed and generated all things. But the problem is that the earth, the land, has to be there in order for there to be water, fire, or air. Unless you're talking about the fire from the central sun. Or I think he's talking about heat, right? But the heat has to be reflected off of something. So if it's not, is he saying that the water is all vaporized? But anyway, y'all check it for yourself. The earth already existed. And if I remember correctly, so was the water. Check the video I did. Okay? So I disagree, and I'm bringing it to your attention. So now you know. You can use this information in your, when you determine whether or not you're going to give this author uh, full faith and credit or not, whether you're going to find his work credible or not. But you have to remember, this is 1892, and this is a religious person. He appears to be a religious person based upon what we've read so far. All right, so he's not free from religious doctrine, nor the science at that time that was being pushed, which was evolution. All right, which was a scam, a scheme, a hoax, a fraud to justify birthright theft globally. But, but, in the enforcement of the contract, right? Deuteronomy 28, 15 through 68. All right? The consequences, so that's a Hermetic law, right? Cause and effect of not following the Most High's commandments, which are living in harmony with nature. Right? So if you don't live in harmony with nature, nature takes everything away from you. All right? Or in other words, your birthright gets taken away from you. Why? Because it's a trust agreement. You have to follow the rules, the Most High's commandments. And if you don't, guess what? You don't get the benefits of being a beneficiary of the trust. That's just the way it is. All right? That's basic law. For example, if you have an heir, so you have 5 heirs, you make a trust, and you say in order for you to get your share of the trust, you have to finish high school, you got to finish college, you got to do A, B, C, D, E. And if they don't do it, they don't get it. Same concept. All right? So now let's continue, y'all. Not only is this true of all vegetables of the earth, but of all animals, and also of man and every living thing. Now, y'all go check the vegetables in chapter 1 and in chapter 2. The animals in chapter 1, the animals in chapter 2. Man in chapter 1, man in chapter 2. I did it for you. Y'all just go watch the video or do it yourself. Or do both. As a matter of fact, do both. A critical analysis of Genesis chapter 1 and 2. You will see that they are 2 different creation stories. And then go look it up in a good Bible dictionary, and you're going to see that Genesis chapter 1 comes out of Babylonian mythology. Now, is it dark Babylonian magic? I mean, I don't know. Has it been edited? I don't know. I wasn't there, but those are all possibilities, right? But I can explain based upon the text in the Ancient Ibaryath what Genesis chapter 1 is saying. What it actually says, okay? And it is not a creation story. Y'all watch the video, you see for yourself. Okay? And therefore, as the planetary system, the macrocosmos. Y'all got that? Let me say that again. The author says we have a distinct account of the action of the elements, air, fire, and water, created the earth or formed the earth. Now, actually, you know what? Formed is different from create, right? So now I have to give the author credit. Okay? So this is credible because formed is not created. Okay? Formed is not created. So I give him credit here. Okay? Let me say that again. Created is not formed. Okay, formed doesn't mean it was created. It just means it was already there and then it was formed. Okay, so I don't know if that's what he means, but there is that nuance of difference. So I give him credit here. This is credible. He's not saying it was created. He's saying it was formed or organized. Okay? Now let me continue. So he's saying that this is also true, that the elements were involved in creating vegetables, the animals, and man. And therefore, now I don't like that word he used, therefore, as the planetary system is the microcosm, so man is the microcosm, being a universe. Oh, I see what he's saying. Y'all have to, so these old books, they're sometimes wordy and a little bit difficult to understand. So what he's saying is that man is the universe, or is a universe within. Why? Consciousness. But at another level, at the cellular level, right? Microorganisms are living inside of you and on you, and you know, the cell is a universe within itself. The atom is a universe within itself. This is what he's saying. Okay, so the cosmos or the planetary system is a macrocosm, and man is a microcosm. So as above, so below. Right? As above, so below. That's the Hermetic law of correspondence. For man is generated by heat, by unity of positive and negative. So this positive and negative is the Hermetic law of gender. Positive, masculine mental energy, negative, feminine mental energy. Right? Positive mental energy is the Father that exists outside of the fleshly body, the great I am, the I be, I exist. The negative energy is the feminine energy, or the Holy Spirit, which is or likened to the subconscious mind, that is always becoming, always developing, always changing, for the better or for the worse, developing or digressing. Whereas the positive energy, the Father, never changes. The great I am, I be. Okay? Not subject to birth or death. And bred from the water. So man is generated by heat, by unity of positive and negative, and bred from the waters. So whenever, now remember, there's no creation. There is only transformation. So whenever thought, whenever a living, let's say whenever a man expires, the consciousness transforms. Okay? It just transforms. But whenever that transformation is taking place, there is always negative and positive energy, or it's governed in every case by the law of gender, mental gender. Okay, y'all? That's what it's saying. And when the waters are divided, he passeth out into the air, and afterwards becomes earthy, and passeth back into its bosom, on which he becomes a dweller. And this is the natural man. So it sounds to me like what he's saying is conception and then the birth. You know, baby comes out, baby ascends, and then he grows and develops on the land, right? On the land, walking on the land. He's the heir, the rightful natural heir, the more. Okay, y'all? Genesis chapter 2, man, not Genesis chapter 1, mankind, Han Uman, or the human. Okay, the colorable man, not that one. But the man in Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, who is the land made manifest from thought, and the substance and subject matter of the law, the rightful heir of all land, all resources, including waters, precious metals, oil and gas, etc., the air, all the elements. Y'all heard me? So all energies, all commerce, all contracts. Okay? It continues. We have now the great Trinity. So here's another Trinity. The three which bear witness in heaven on the ark. That's the royal ark, right? Those months that are ruled by the sun, there are 7. The royal ark, 7. Okay. 7. The three which bear witness in heaven, on the earth above. I'm sorry, in heaven above. Wait. Let me start over. I'm distracted. Hold on. We now have the great Trinity. The three which bear witness in heaven, on the ark above the earth and around it. So the ark above the earth and around it. So 7 months ruled by the daytime. Ruled by the sun, right? So the daytime dominates. And then the other 5 months under it, which is winter, which is hell. So now you have a circle and then a 7. Y'all see that? Then you have the north gate, right? South, east, and west. Okay? He continues. Air, fire, and water. That's the Trinity that he's talking about. Okay? The great Trinity that bears witness above heaven. All right? And the earth that bears witness in heaven, on the ark above the earth and around it, air, fire, and water. The producer of all things, the creator of all natural things. Of the creator of these, there must still be something superior. Okay, so he's acknowledging that something had to create air, fire, and water. Something highly intelligent, full of law and order. Okay, so hence natural law. Right? But this is not a man in the sky. No, it's consciousness. That's all. Consciousness, intelligence. Okay? A great force. Now see, I agree with that. A great force. Not a man, a force. Stronger than all else, a grand architect. I don't know if he's referring to a man here. I'm not a Freemason. So I don't know how they define this grand architect. Okay? A grand architect, which the human being, man. So y'all see they have human being and then man. These are 2 different beings. The human being is Han Uman. Genesis chapter 1, the colorable man, the symbolicum of a man who has no substance. In other words, not a rightful heir. Okay, not a rightful heir. Has no inheritance. This is the monster. Y'all remember that? This is the monster correlated with Semite. Watch the video that I did with, it's a Neanderthal on a stake. I think it's that one, or it's the one with the guy with the Pinocchio nose. Y'all watch that, you get the details of what I'm talking about. Okay? Look up human in the law dictionary, it's going to tell you it's a monster. So make all these correlations, but you got to do the research, okay? Watch those videos. All right? So man is Genesis chapter 2, 7. The thought made manifest from the soil. All right? So he continues, a grand architect with the human being, man, has from time to time immemorial called by the different names as Bra, Brahram, Bhraam, Vishnu, Bel, Dagon, that's Dogon, right? Dag-on, Sol, Sol, Latin for sun, Zeus, Osiris, Manitou, and what is this? Wakanda? What? Wakanda? Am I saying that right? Wow, Wakanda, y'all. Check that out. Y'all remember the movie Wakanda? Look at this. Wakanda is a divine name. Let me circle it. Look at that. How about that? This is this book was published in 1892. Let me move this cup out of the way. Wakanda. Can y'all see that? Look at the word, the circle where my finger is. So Wakanda is a divine name. How about that? Wahcondah. Wakanda. Allah. So let's continue reading. So Allah and God. And God. Or as many names as there are nations or peoples. From the Hebraic Bible, Jehovah, Elohim, and Adonai. So the Tetragrammaton YHWH combined with Adonai. Y'all research that. Strong's number 3068. This is very basic. 3068. And then go to Adonai and Adon. I think it's, if I remember correctly, Strong's number 113 and 110. All right. So according to the Hebrew Bible, Jehovah or Jehovah, Elohim, and Adonai, while the Arabian brethren call him Allah, A-L-L-A-H. Now, what is this mysterious power so illimitable or unlimited? Today we would say unlimited, unseen, unsearchable, yet felt in all things, permeating all things, mundane and celestial. Well, the Hermetic Laws tell us that all is mind, thought. Certainly not chance, not chaotic, that from chaos should come perfection. And we're going to stop right there. Islam to all the Moors. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom, y'all. Thanks for supporting my project to write the book of the law in ancient Ibaryath and modern English to restore the astronomy and astrology, also the Hermetic laws, the Hermetic principles, and the constitutional principles Okay? So we need our own book of the law. We should really not rely at this stage in the game on Judaism and rabbinical books and lexicons. We should write our own, okay? And then that way they have their stuff and we have ours, and there's no conflict. Nobody has any reason to be upset, okay? So anyway, it's a matter of, we all need to have some level of pride in ourselves, right? And dignity and manhood, womanhood, create our own literature. So anyway, I'm asking y'all for your support. So support that. Thanks everyone for buying my books. It's an honor. If you haven't bought my books yet, buy them. Get educated. It's absolutely necessary. You see what I'm doing, how I'm working this. You can work it too. It just takes time, energy, effort, and practice. All right. So the books are already there. You don't have to go out and recreate the wheel. I've written, I got a list of books, the links. I've got classes, the one-on-one Ancient Ibaryath class, which is a streaming course, and then 506 The Curses course that I teach every Sunday on Zoom. It's at 10 o'clock in the morning, Eastern Standard Time. So everybody's welcome to come. Did I miss anything? Oh yeah. So if you already subscribe to my classes, I want to say thank you. And y'all come on to class on Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Show up. Don't be shy. Don't be scared. Right? When you get there, usually people feel lost in the sauce, but you just got to keep on hanging in there. And before you know it, boom, it clicks, and it's like riding a bike. All right. So, assalamu alaikum. Shalawama, Islam to all the Moors. I'm Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School. I'll see y'all on the next one, about 12 to 24 hours.